Okay. Good morning, Cedar Rapids. Hey, salutations. Okay.
Brothers, let us all unite!
You would rather have us keep the internet than have peace in the world. Like, no, I gotta have my internet.
Live in front of an internet audience, it's the I'm Clifford Today show. We're back. We're back, baby. Oh, hey, there's the baby right there. It looks like are you frozen or are you just standing still?
Trouble connecting.
Uh-oh. Okay, so we're trying something different. Oh, I don't know if this is really working because there's an echo. I was trying to get it worked out with your camera. Yeah, we might have to. It's kind of an echo because it's hearing me in the same room. So.
Do I need to go to a different room?
You don't have to. No, we'll just probably.
But my mic is off.
It is now because there's this echo. It's hearing me in the same room. But yeah, we'll just forego this if that's okay.
Bye.
So you know Lisa's here. We're trying something because I realized that I couldn't get her microphone to work on this StreamYard. You can only have one microphone on StreamYard, and that's silly. And I actually have some other things. I wanted to talk about that later in the show, but we won't do that now. We got a big show going on. Lisa is here. You might hear her in the background, maybe say some things, and I might reiterate what she says. I'm sorry, everyone. I know I love having her on the show, but it doesn't seem to be working out. But anyways, we're here. Anyways, that's what we're doing. The I'm Clifford Today show. Intro music by John Bartman, johnbartman.com. And today we are joined by Seconds Out by Genesis. We're still in the Genesis streak. It's a great live album. If you're a fan of Genesis, it's a great live album. And yeah, so today we are ranking all of the Newsboys albums. It's finally happening. I know everyone really cares about my opinions of Newsboys. I'm the Newsboys expert. Self-proclaimed, not really. Also, we got a Killhawk in the live chat. Spoiler, so he saw the title and he actually commented this a while ago. But Killhawk says, spoiler, LOL, Take Me to Your Leader is number 1 and Love Liberty Disco is dead last. Which hot take. I don't know if is he predicting that that's what my opinion is, which I don't know why he would think that I would think that about Love Liberty Disco. But if that's his opinion, then I understand. I think you'll be surprised by the things that I have to say about Love Liberty Disco. But you'll just have to wait and see. That's what we're doing. I think we'll get into ranking all the Newsboys albums first. Just a couple of things. There is, of course, new merch. I have new shirts. Not new shirts from the last time I announced this, but I still got some shirts that you guys can order if you want to support me. There's a link in the description. You can check those out. Not just shirts, but we got hoodies, we got shirts and hoodies, and we got mugs as well. Okay. We got mugs and no hats. No hats yet. But we got some pretty cool stuff. We got the I'm Clifford Today original logo. And then we've got the I'm Clifford Today show logo. And my favorite one is the baseball tee, personally. So if you want to become Clifford Today and you want to support me, that's a good way to do it. And yeah. Also, just a reminder to everyone, I'm still on my social media break. I have not been on social media except for some exceptions. I had to like promote something real quick, but I just went on and then I was off. I didn't look at anything. I didn't look at my news feed or anything or my notifications. So I don't know what's going on in the world. I have an idea. I've heard some people say some things. But just to remind everyone, since I'm on my social media break, I'll be back in September, which will be next episode. In the next episode, I will be reacting to any bit of news that I might have missed. Specifically, if we can find it, any Christian music news. And if you want to help out with that, if you guys have come across any stories that have happened in the month of August, you can send them to me to my email. I will not read it until September, until this episode. You can send them to me, cliffordclose94@gmail.com. I'll put it in the description. It's not there now, but cliffordclose94@gmail.com, and put something in the subject line, something along the lines of, I think we had it as a social media break news. So send me links to any articles or anything. And Lisa, the plan is, Lisa is going to react. No, she's not going to react. She's going to convey those news articles to me, or whatever, news stories. It doesn't have to be Christian music news either. It can be Christian world news, like church news, big controversies within the church world. Or it can just be some major news, like was America attacked or anything? Did anyone die? You can send that to me and I will react to it next episode. But since I am off of social media, if there have been any major things for me to react to, I'm not doing that today. So I'm sorry. That's why we're ranking some Newsboys albums. One other thing that I wanted to announce. A while ago, I announced that my band Sherwood Forest had released a Me Without You cover to their song All Circles, and the actual tribute album, compilation album, is finally out. You can purchase it and stream it on Bandcamp. It's also on Spotify as well, which I did not know that it was going to be released on Spotify. I don't have any links in the description yet, but I will later. But you can check it out on Bandcamp and Spotify. You can just search for, the album is called Torches Together, and it's Torches Together, a Me Without You DIY Me Without You tribute album, something along those lines. Just look for Torches Together album. And there's also, you can go to Sherwood Forest Spotify page, and there's like a link to the song through there. So that's where you can find it. Also, my good friend Mitchell, if you guys may know him from our podcast, the Podwood Forecast, he also made a song through his stage name, Old Friend Fox. He has a song on that album, and it's great. So I highly recommend it. It's just for Sherwood Forest songs, but all the other songs that are on there, there's some great covers on there. Spaceships is on it, and I saw them at Audio Feed, and they were great. They got a great song on there. So if you're a Me Without You fan especially, or you just, maybe you like my music, go check it out. Torches Together, and it features Sherwood Forest cover of All Circles. It's a great time. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted to talk about. I don't think I'm missing anything. I don't think we're gonna have a Christian music review today. I didn't really have any time to listen to anything else. I was cramming for this episode, as Lisa can attest to. Yeah, she goes, because there was a lot of music to listen to, and I had to write down a lot of thoughts on Newsboys album. So I'm sorry, no Christian music review this week. Next time, most likely, which because there was a Norma Jean album that I haven't listened to yet, and I want to. So, but next time you'll get your fill of music reviews this episode. So that's totally fine. So Newsboys, you all should know if you've been following this channel long enough. I have a connection with the Newsboys, a big thing for boy as a young lad, a big fan of the Newsboys, and that was back when Peter Furler was the lead singer. I came in too late. I came in after John James had already left, but I did get into those albums that he led, and I just loved it all up until my teenage years. Honestly, I considered them my favorite band for a long time, and Newsboys have gone through a lot of different changes, and maybe I haven't been on the bandwagon for through all the different changes, but I decided I thought it would be fun. Maybe you guys would enjoy me going through each and every Newsboys album from their first album before they were big, before they were good. Just kidding. Don't want to scare any fans of the first few albums, all the way until their most recent album. And I will say there was a lot of their most recent albums that I haven't even listened to. I hadn't listened to before. So it was a new experience for me to listen through all of these. And you're welcome. You're welcome for doing this for you guys. I don't know why I do, but it's for entertainment. Are you eating the bread, the French bread? Yeah. My mom made some French bread, and Lisa's eating some. I think it's French bread. Yeah, but yeah. So I guess let's just get to it, because I can't really gauge how long this episode is going to be. Maybe it's going to be a longer one. Maybe it's going to be as long as the Benjamin Daniel episode. Maybe not. We'll see. I wrote down some notes, and there are certain albums where I just had a lot to say, a lot to write down. Also, I wanted to say off topic, but if you guys haven't listened to the last episode, my interview with Benjamin Daniel, I highly recommend you guys to go check that out. Yes, I had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but in the end, it all clears out. And it's actually, I think it's a really cool conversation with Benjamin Daniel. He's got some great music and great thoughts to share on his music. So go check that out, please. It was a good time. So, but yeah, back to what we're doing today. And I guess let's just get to it. Look at this little tier maker, this tier thing that I made. It's pretty easy. Just go to tiermaker.com. I think you guys can actually find this as well. Let me put this as a separate. Sorry, I'm switching some things over so I can move. There we go. It's just so I can see what's going on in the stream while I'm doing this. So, got all okay. So here's the premise for what we're doing. I'm ranking all of the studio albums. I know there's some greatest hits albums, which I will say, Newsboys, at least when Peter Furler was around, always did a great job with. They usually did a great job with releasing a greatest hits album. because usually no one, well, before Spotify, greatest hits albums are kind of, obsolete these days. But back in the day, even when they were a thing, there not many people really cared about them. But Newsboys, they always tried to do something different. Like they had their Shine the Hits album, which actually was my first Newsboys album. I got it from, my birthday. And it has like 4 or 5 new songs on it. And it's like, yeah, that's how you do a hits album. That was my first introduction to a hits album anyways, and so I'm always kind of disappointed when people don't do that. And then they had their greatest hits, which was later on in their career, and they had 2 new songs on there. So just as a tip to any of you aspiring artists, if you ever do, even though people don't do greatest hits albums anymore, if you ever do that, put some new stuff on there. I know Under Oath did that too. They put a couple new tracks in there. So, but I'm not including any of those. I am not including any live albums because they're live albums. They're different versions of songs that already exist. So I'm not including those. I'm also not including any EPs. We're talking about some just their straight up studio albums. So sorry to anyone who was hoping that I would talk about Newsboys' Christmas album. I'm not going to talk about Shine the Hits, even though that is a pretty solid hits album. But we're going to start from the beginning. So let me pull up my notes here. And make sure I can see that. So we got Read All About It, the first ever Newsboys album, which I guess technically isn't true. There was like an unofficial DIY album that they made on cassette, but no one really, unless you were at their shows that they gave those out to and you have them, you are like automatically the coolest person if you have that album. But most of what they had on that album just ended up on this one anyways, and they're more better studio quality. But Read All About It, their first album, I re-listened to it. Honestly, these first few albums I don't really listen to that much, honestly. Not Ashamed, I'm not too big on these albums, but I will talk about my experience re-listening to them. Read All About It. It's kind of sloppy at times. It's filled with mostly half-baked songs with amateur lyrics, with the exception of the title track, Read All About It, and I Got Your Number. They're fine songs. They've got, they sound nice, but it's not the worst thing ever, and it has some good ideas. And this album, and especially with the first 3 albums, the passion that they have is very endearing, and it's pretty apparent in the songs, and so you can't hate it. But so I gotta say though that since it is kind of sloppy, honestly, I was re-listening to it, I'm like, man, I never really noticed that I could notice some mistakes that the drums were making and such, so it's not all that polished. So I gotta say, I don't know if I could put any of these albums, honestly, in F tier, but right now I'm just going to put it in D. Sorry, not great. Tracking with me so far, baby. Did you even really listen to any of these, the first 3? Yeah, not many have. Also, so now we got Hell Is For Wimps. And I actually had someone, Jesus Freak? I wanted to give him a shout out for commenting. Mr. Jesus Freak Eric was, when I mentioned that I was doing this in the comment conversation we were having, he said, "Are you going to talk about the very underrated Hell Is For Wimps. So, yeah, I'm talking about all of them. So I think there are a lot of Hell Is For Wimps lovers out there, a lot of really early Newsboys fans. But I gotta say, I will say it's a lot tighter than the previous album, a lot more professional sounding. Even seems to have a mixture of, it's like heavy metal influence, kind of just with the guitars, like very Petra esque. But there's also some Simple Minds influence. You know, the "Don't You Forget About Me." I always thought that John James kind of sounded like the lead singer, but the music kind of sounds like that, just not as good. Sorry. Because ultimately it's just songs that are just not that interesting to listen to, you know, kind of very so lyrics. Although I've always thought that Simple Man, the song Simple Man, is an underrated jam. I always thought that it would be interesting if they ever brought that back to any shows today. But Hell Is For Wimps is kind of mid for me. So I'll just put it as a little C tier for now. I may adjust these. I have like actual scores for these albums, but 10 out of 10 scores don't really translate to this format of tier making. And then next, finally, in the trilogy of early Newsboys is Boyz. Boyz Will Be Boys with a Z. So this one, basically the Newsboys are trying to relate to the kids in this one, and it's early 90s kids, so it's even more cringy. Because even though the best Newsboys have always had a pop sound, this one felt like that they were just having a bit of an identity crisis. Because there's so many, there's a handful of songs where Peter Furler raps on it, and it's so bad. It's just bad. Like it's the bad early 90s kind of rapping. I'm sorry, Peter, but rapping, I'm glad that he stopped rapping after this album. So Kingdom Man, that's the first track, is actually pretty catchy though. It's like step by step, day by day. And I always think of, there's a music video to it, an old music video to it, of course, where they do like this step kind of dance, and I always have that in my mind when I hear it. But yeah, Boyz Will Be Boys is not great. It's not good. So I'm gonna have to put it in F tier. Sorry, boys. I know you just want to be boys, but sorry. Next up, though, we got Not Ashamed, and everyone knows, pretty much everyone knows, except for stans for the first three albums. I mean, maybe they can't disagree. Not Ashamed is when Newsboys started to get good, and it's a lot of that has to do with Steve Taylor joining and helping with the songwriting. I love this album, although I don't think it's perfect. It's a step in the right direction, and it's miles above the previous albums. And thanks to Steve Taylor working together with Peter Furler, and the songwriting is much better. You know, Peter Furler found his strength at the time. He got better as a lyricist over time, but Peter Furler was just always good at like making the catchy tunes, and Steve Taylor, you know, we've talked about him on the show before. He's a witty lyricist, and so they just worked together so well. The basic lyricism is gone, the rapping is gone, except for Steve Taylor actually features on a couple. Well, he features on the Boycott Hell cover, which is a DeGarmo and Key cover. Very interesting cover. But he like does a little rap on there, but it doesn't sound bad actually. And the songs on this album are a lot more purposeful. Plus the production is a lot better too, and the songs are a lot more fun to listen to. The first few ones is kind of generic, just like guitars and drums and maybe some keys. in there, but there's a lot more going on in Not Ashamed. And they definitely played to Peter Furler's strengths in this one because he's singing a lot more. Before, it was mostly a lot of John James and Peter Furler just rapping. But there are some songs that just aren't as strong as the others, but as an album, it's a straight up jam through and through. Also, I discovered while reading up on this album that Toby Mac apparently helped co-write one of the songs, Strong Love. And I found that interesting because that's 90s Toby Mac. That's Free at Last Toby Mac. So I just found that interesting. So Newsboys, Not Ashamed, we're going to put them up in B tier, So this next one, Going Public. The maturity and growth in this album is so apparent here. Great pop rock sound that is just at its best. Blaze magazine once said that modern Christian artists owe a lot to the path this album created because it, quote, showed music from a godly perspective, could sound extremely catchy, have lyrics that were honest, and still glorify God. And I cannot argue with that. And I don't really have a lot to add to that. Also, can we just appreciate Duncan Phillips doing the keys on this album? Like, this was before he was the drummer, and he did all the keys on this album. You like this album, right? You listen to it a lot?
I listen to a lot more than Shine.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Shine is ongoing public, but so that was like the only song that you listened to?
The title album.
Yeah.
The title song.
Going Public with this. Yeah, there's some great jams on here, and one of my all-time favorites, LEG, is on there. That's like a cult Newsboys fan favorite, and yeah, it's just solid. It's just a solid Christian album, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on A tier for me. Not the best, but it's up there. I like how I'm kind of like towering I'm getting up there to S tier, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add about Going Public, but I can't really think of anything. Take Me to Your Leader. I mean, what can I say about this album? Actually, first, we should go to a break. Yeah, it's break time. That's a little cliffhanger for you guys. We're going to talk about Take Me to Your Leader once we get back. Like, oh, what does Clifford have to say about Take Me to Your Leader? Well, you'll see. Just don't. Oh, that's not what I want. Just don't go away. We'll be right back. Just have to take a break for the ads on the audio podcast. But we'll be right back. It won't be long. And you guys sit tight. We'll be back with more Newsboys. See you in a little bit. All right, let's bring it back now, y'all. Take it back now, y'all. That's a reference to the kids. Timely reference, right? Okay, let's get back to it. Ranking some Newsboys albums. You're just getting here. You can see where we're at so far. Boys Will Be Boys is so far the worst album, apparently, according to me. And we got Read All About It, then Hell Is For Wimps, Not Ashamed, and Going Public. And now we are going to the one and the only Take Me to Your Leader. Now, some of you guys already know this is not only my favorite Newsboys album, this is my favorite album of all time, actually. I may not be a current Newsboys fan. I may not say that Newsboys is currently my favorite band, but Take Me to Your Leader, no one's been able to top it. I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia tagged onto it, but I just still think it's great. I believe that this was the Newsboys at their peak. I think it's the peak of their maturity that they had been growing for years since their first album. But it's also the perfect balance between that and their willingness to push the envelope creatively. They've still got a pop rock feel to them, but they've left the shininess of their previous albums for something a little more grungy, sorta. Their bold lyricism still has that great twist of wittiness to it, and they're complemented so well by the catchy and memorable melodies and instrumentation. It's all deep, got some deep songs in there, and but also it's just still fun, you know. It's a fun album, but also you got songs like Lost the Plot and Breathe and other songs. I swear I know the album. But yeah, it's just a good mixture of serious and fun and just great songwriting. And just in my opinion, Christian music has not been this good before or since. I don't know. Got any additional thoughts in that? I mean, there's just like hit after hit in this album. I'm pretty sure I read that like almost every song on the album except for one was like a chart topping hit. So yeah, I just feel like it may not be. Well, we'll get into what I think might be the quintessential Newsboys album in terms of their sound, but this was just a sound that I particularly liked, where it's not as shiny as Going Public or Not Ashamed in terms of like the very poppy sound. It still has a pop sound to it, but it's a lot more kind of dirty and mature, sort of. I don't know. It's like the best way that I can describe it. But not that it's a dirty album. But anyways, that's Take Me to Your Leader. It's a perfect album for me, in my opinion. And so next up, we got the first album in the next Newsboys phase, where John James left the band. Which, by the way, I'm working on a video talking about that whole story. But John James left the band, and Peter Furler stepped up to the microphone, and then Duncan Phillips became like the official drummer. He's like, finally, I'm not doing percussion like I was before. That's what he did. He did percussion on Take Me to Your Leader because Jeff Frankenstein took over the keys. And he's like, I'm just playing the bongos, I guess. Which I've been there before, but now he's the official drummer. So step up to the microphone was quite a drastic change in sound. I feel like it was kind of Newsboys kind of catching up with the times because it's a very late 90s sounding album. But, John James is gone and Steve Taylor is actually barely present in this one. He only co-wrote like a couple of the songs. It it kind of it kind of feels like the boys are taking off their training wheels with this one and really tried to make their own thing. You look at the credits and it's mostly like Peter Furler and Phil Joel working together and writing the songs, but it's not as edgy as Take Me to Your Leader, but the songwriting is still good. Plenty of jams on this one, a lot more poppy. They do a lot more with like they sorry. They experiment a lot more with like drum machine sounds and such. And this album is also very nostalgic for me. I mean, a lot of them are, but this one kind of especially. So it's hard for me not to enjoy it, honestly. Entertaining Angels is still amazing. It's just great songwriting, which, by the way, some people don't seem to know what the meaning of Entertaining Angels is, because I see people comment on like the YouTube video all the time, and they reference that scripture where it says, they didn't know that they have entertained angels. I should have looked up the scripture before mentioning this, but that's what they say. It was like, oh, it's the one where Jesus says they've entertained angels, and I'm like, no. If you watch or listen to any live version of Entertaining Angels, Peter Furler always introduces the song by saying, in the Bible, it says that when one sinner turns and repents, the angels in heaven rejoice. So that's what the song is about. It's about someone coming to Christ. And so you're welcome for that. Anyways, moving on. Always is another one of those underrated deep cuts. I There's this old video of me covering it when I'm a wee lad, and it's not great, but I always love the song. It's about just a great song about those who like don't have a father figure in their lives, and yeah, is another one of those kind of like cult Newsboys fan songs. It has a cult following. It's good. Step Up to the Microphone. It's not as good as Take Me to Your Leader, but it's up there. And it was nice to know that they could still survive without John James. And I like the fact that Phil Joel takes up a lot more of the lead vocals. In fact, they let him open the album up with the first song. It's Phil Joel. People are like, who is this guy? It's Phil Joel. His real name is Phil Uri or whatever. That's his actual last name. Joel is his middle name, but Phil Joel is his stage name. But yeah, Step Up to the Microphone. I'd say for me it's B tier. It's like hand in hand with Not Ashamed. Lisa shakes her head. I don't know. I just kind of felt like Going Public was a lot more monumental in their career than Step Up to the Microphone. Like, B is still great, but any thoughts? No. It's like, I don't have a microphone, so I don't want to talk anymore. Just kidding.
Take Me to Your Leader is S.
Take Me to Your Leader is S.
Is A.
So to the Microphone is A tier for Lisa.
And Love Liberty Disco is a C.
Oh,
that's about all I know.
we're about to get into Love Liberty Disco, because I have a hot take about Love Liberty Disco. I'm sorry, Akil Hawk, but especially re-listening to it. This album often gets a bad rap, and I don't really know why. Just because it's different. Like, it is different. It's probably the most unique Newsboys album out there. Personally, I mean, it still sounds like the Newsboys, and personally, I love it when an artist tries new things, and I love this album. Honestly, you can tell I mean, I think it's great. The production and instrumentation, I think, is incredible, especially considering that Steve Taylor was not involved at all with this album. He didn't write anything. He didn't produce the album. He co-produced "Not Ashamed" and "Going Public" and "Take Me to Your Leader." He didn't produce "Step Up to the Microphone," and he just wrote a couple songs. This one, they're just like, we're gonna try something on our own, and I think the result is incredible. You can tell that they tried something different with the drum kit. The drums sound different. They sound a lot more like kind of tighter, sort of, but it fits the style. I love the string arrangements and the funky disco feel. I love all of Jody's parts on the guitar. They're so groovy and fun, and you can tell that he's having a lot of fun with this album. And there's just something so raw and personal about the second half of the album. I mean the whole album really, but especially with songs like Break and Fall and I Surrender All. It just seems a lot more personal. And I remember Peter Furler actually said at the time of this, I read in an interview at the time of the release of this album that it was his favorite at the time. It was his favorite album so far, and I can understand that because it seems a lot more personal than a lot of the previous albums, and it's personal in a way that Newsboys hadn't really been before or since, in my opinion. I just think that it's a criminally underrated album. Even if people don't hate it, a lot of people seem indifferent about it, like Lisa. And I think that people don't really give it a chance just because it's different. And I think that's unfair. But I think it's pretty good personally. It's I mean, no, it's not Step Up to the Microphone or Take Me to Your Leader, but oh, I mean, you got your straight up jams like Love Liberty Disco and Beautiful Sound and Say You Need Love. I mean, those are jams, but I also just love the more like personal sounding songs like Forever Man and Everyone's Someone. I don't know, it's just so good. And re-listening to it with good headphones, man, the production was just great. So I think it's A tier for me. Not as good as Take Me to Your Leader, but it's like, in fact, if I could put it in between A tier and S tier, I would. Because Going Public is like an 8 out of 10 for me, but Love Liberty Disco is like a 9. So she thinks I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm the reviewer guy. I I'm the one who's right about all the things. Also, I want to clarify some things for some people. These are just my honest opinions. I'm not my opinion is not the end all be all. If you have different opinions of what from what I think, that's totally fine. In fact, give us your opinions in the chat, in the comments right now. I want to hear them because I like it when people have different opinions. But you know, that's just what this all is my opinion. If you think differently, that's fine. And I'm open to talking about it. Just some people just think that like it's the end of the world when someone doesn't agree with their opinion on like a piece of art, like a movie or an album or an artist. And I try my best to convey that it's like, hey, it's not the end of the world. I'm just saying what I like. And if you like my opinion, that's okay. And if you don't, that's okay too. Anyways, moving on to Thrive. The Newsboys are back with their rock sound. And Thrive, I think it's a very solid rock album. Solid rock. Upon this rock. It's a solid rock album with some pop mixed in with it. This was actually the first Newsboys album that came out after I became a fan of them, so I obviously have a lot of attachment to it. It doesn't really wow me or surprise me as much this time around listening to it like when I was listening to some of the previous albums, but it's still a fun listen. I love how they just turned up the guitars on this album. It's very guitar heavy in this. And that's very apparent with the first track, Giving It Over. It's like down 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 down, and a lot of memorable songs on this, and the lyrics are as fun as ever, honestly, especially with Steve Taylor back. Steve Taylor is back with this album, co-writing, and I believe he co-produced. But with the lyrics there, I always thought that they were so fun, specifically on this album, especially Live in Stereo. The lyrics in the verse are just so fun, and they're the kind of lyrics that you want to sing along with. They're very wordy, but just like fun to say. Also, apparently, somehow Live in Stereo has like over 1 million streams on Spotify, which is crazy because they like Live in Stereo has never really been considered a hit, but apparently Live in Stereo was on this like skateboarding video game or whatever, and so oh, you did what was it? Do you remember? A Disney, okay.
Disney skateboarding game.
A Disney skateboarding game. Did you play it?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Because
remember the song.
that's crazy that they put a Newsboys song on a Disney thing. Because I remember looking up the song on YouTube, and the comments were all just like talking about this video game. I was like, oh, okay. So I think that's why it has as many streams as it does, because people are like nostalgic for it and like looking it up. Otherwise, Live in Stereo has never really been like, people have never really talked about it, and it's like never been considered one of their hits. So, but any excuse me, maybe I'll take a cough drop. I think my throat is getting dry. I should have gotten some water or something. But Thrive, I say, it's really good. B tier is like really good and solid. So Thrive is B tier for me. Did you listen to Thrive? Do you agree with my placement? Okay. yeah, it's all right. It's also got that really weird song, John Woo. And I love it when the Newsboys get weird. Like, I still don't know what that song is about, other than the fact that it references the director, John Woo. All right, next up. Pardon me, it's going to sound like I have a cough drop in my mouth. Adoration, the worship album or project, whatever. There is something about these next two albums that I'm going to talk about that kind of makes me want to roll my eyes, because Adoration and the next album came out when worship music was starting to be the big thing in Christian radio. And it kind of seemed like everyone was trying to cash in on that. Like, everyone at the time was releasing a worship album. And it kind of feels like the record label really pushed Newsboys to make some worship albums. However, I will say that it does feel like the Newsboys actually did care about this album, whether they were pushed to do this or not. I may be completely wrong. It's just like, and everyone was doing a worship album, so it kind of feels like that. But I actually like this album. See, the Newsboys weren't strangers to making the occasional worship track. Oh, okay. Lisa's going to sit on the couch. She is getting bored and sleepy of my talking. Me mansplaining what are the best Newsboys albums. But yeah, so the Newsboys weren't strangers to making the occasional worship track in their albums. So I'm sure this didn't seem out of territory for them. As worship songs, there is some great stuff in here. I mean, on paper, the idea of Peter Furler and the rest of the gang teaming up with Steve Taylor to create some worship songs feels like a wonderful opportunity for absolute gems to be created, and the end result does not disappoint. The lyrics don't just feel like basic worship lyrics. It feels like Steve Taylor and Peter Furler trying to write a worship song and putting themselves into it and doing a good job at it. They're not basic worship lyrics. There's a lot of thought and creativity put into them, and I love a lot of the imagery they conjure up in their wording. The production on this album is also great and very unique. They really put a cool pop rock influence to it, but it still feels like mature. Like it's not out of place for a worship themed album. Their covers of both Amazing Love and In Christ Alone are probably the best I've ever heard. Personally, my only complaint is that having two live versions of songs from their previous album feels a little lazy to me. I mean, they have It Is You and Lord I Don't Know on this album. And even if it wasn't lazy, I really just don't usually care about live versions of original studio songs because they're typically not as good as the originals. And plus, I've heard these songs already. I'd rather hear new Newsboys songs than new versions of others. So it kind of just takes up some space where I wish that there was something original in there. So I don't really know. I mean, not that it's not fun to ever listen to live versions of it, but it's like, come on, write some new stuff. So that kind of affects my feel for the album because it kind of takes the energy of the album for me. But it does close up really nice. And either way, it still is a solid album. It's a solid worship album. I got to put it in B tier. Solid, good, yeah. So we went from Adoration to Devotion. And I read a review from Jesus Freak Hideout that said that this album is a good worship album, but a lesser Newsboys album. And I have to agree. Just somehow the Boyz seem to have lost the inspiration they had when they made Adoration. And not to say that the lyrics don't feel as heartfelt as they were in the last album. It's more in the music. We also got Hunter Gaming in the chat. Hunter Gaming says, I think Go was their last good one. I'm gonna hold my I'm gonna say that I agree with you, but we're gonna get to Go. It's the next album, but that is a good opinion, Hunter. Thanks for chatting. But Devotion, if you replaced Peter Furler with any other vocalist, this album, it wouldn't sound any different than any other worship band at the time. The thing that the Newsboys have on their side is that Peter has such a distinctive and powerful voice, and he does sound great in this one. There are a lot of tracks on here where he really goes out there. But musically, it's kind of boring and not as unique sounding as Adoration was, let alone any other Newsboys album. I do want to mention, though, that there are a couple songs on here that almost don't fit on the album, and not in a bad way. They're just better tracks. The Orphan really stands out as a song lyrically because almost immediately you realize that this isn't a worship song. The lyrics are a lot more poetic and abstract, and definitely not something that you would sing in a church. It is beautiful, though. Even as a kid, it was my favorite song off the album, and I didn't even know what the song was about. It just sounded great. But now I do actually know what the song's about, and I love it so much more now. And one day I actually plan to make a video on it because I think it has some interesting meaning behind the song that I think would warrant a if any of you remember the essay that I did on LEG by Newsboys, I think this deserves a similar treatment. So the other track, Landslide of Love, is another song that doesn't sound like a typical worship song lyrically. It has a sort of folk rock feel to it, but it has that sort of quirky Steve Taylor-esque vibe to its lyricism, and it's sort of odd, but I kind of like it. You definitely know it's not a worship song when Peter yells, "And if we're here for something bigger, baby." Like you don't say baby in a worship song, not in a congregational setting. But it's fine. It's fun. With those two songs, I feel like that they might have gotten, it feels like that they got bored with writing the worship songs on the album. And I remember reading that Peter Furler had said that they made a mistake with the last album by saying that by calling it a worship album, because he's like, we've always been about worship music. And I have to agree, but at least for Adoration, but the thing about Devotion is that it feels like just your everyday worship album, but just not that special as a Newsboys album. So I don't hate it. I just don't love it. And I got to put Devotion in C tier. I'm sorry. Sorry, Devotion. Hunter Gaming in the chat says, I was a big Newsboys fan growing up. They stink now. I love the guys, but they're not good. Thank you. What was that? My girlfriend in the background says, preach. We'll get to that. But I think that's funny. They stink now. Also, thank you, Hunter, for the subscription. Appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to I'm Clifford today. I am Clifford today, and you're not. So, anyways, what you were talking about earlier. Talking about Go. Go, go, go. I have so much love for this album. There's something so crisp and clean about the production that doesn't make it seem overproduced or anything. It's just well mixed and well produced. Even though it's not my absolute favorite from them, you could argue that this album, this is the one that I was talking about earlier. You could argue that this album has the quintessential Newsboys sound at its best. It has that quirky pop rock feel to it. But it's also got the the worshipful kind of songs, but none of them seem out of place. It's just a real cohesive album. And it makes sense since Go was actually co-produced by Ted T, who I only recently learned produced Mute Math's first two albums, which are great. You should definitely check out Mute Math, and especially their first two albums. And Ted T is a talented guy. But this album is just full of fun, faith-based songs. You've got your share of quirky, upbeat songs. You've got your more worshipful songs. You've got your share of serious and deep songs. It's just everything that a Newsboys album needs to be, in my opinion. And I think it does it best. Even though Take Me to Your Leader is my favorite, it's a different kind of album. And that's why I love Take Me to Your Leader. But this, if I was to introduce Newsboys to someone who hadn't heard them before, and like they want to hear the album that showcases like their sound, I'd give them Go. I would also give them Take Me to Your Leader and say that it's my favorite, but Go is maybe a little bit more accessible, just a teensy bit. I don't know, but Go, I got to put it in A tier But Go is one of those albums that I've always been jealous of its sound and wanted to replicate it in some way, but at least back in the day. But yeah, I think Go is great in Hunter Gaming. I do have to agree. I think that Go was their last great album, because we're going to talk about their next album, and sadly, Peter Furler's last album with the group, In the Hands of God. I wish I could say I love this album more than I do. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot I love about it, but it being Peter Furler's last album as lead singer, I'm kind of expecting more. There are many tracks on here that I love, that I would place among their best, including the title track, In the Hands of God. The Way We Roll is also a great jam. RSL 1984 is also, I think, an underrated jam. Akil Hawk, welcome to the chat. Akil Hawk says, well, thanks for kind of making my day. Love Liberty is F tier in my opinion, but you did get Take Me to Your Leader correct. Lisa says, preach. You put it in C tier. You didn't put it in F tier. No. She says it's worse than where I put it. Y'all got to give Love Liberty Disco a chance. It's I've heard people who are not, sorry, I'm going back to Love Liberty Disco for a second. I've heard people who are not like Newsboys fans say that like Love Liberty Disco was their best one. And I just think it says that a lot about their experimentalism and the artistry that they put into it. No, you're wrong. Me and Lisa's first fight. Fighting over Newsboys albums. Akil Hawk says, nope. Love Liberty Disco is just no. Well, you can have your opinion, and that's okay. We can. No, stop, baby. At least Lisa agrees with you, Akil Hawk. You guys can agree. We can agree to disagree. Anyways, back to In the Hands of God. So I mentioned all the songs that I really like. In the Hands of God, The Way We Roll, RSL 1984. No Grave is also pretty good, but there's something about it that gives like Skillet vibes to me for some reason. Glorious is also a good one. The thing is that there's just a big chunk of these tracks that just don't feel as inspired as the other ones. The interesting intricacies that you could find in albums such as Go or Thrive or even Step Up to the Microphone just aren't as present in this album. It's like Jeff Frankenstein didn't really do a whole lot on this album, even though I looked at the credits and he like co-wrote most of the album actually. There does seem to be an attempt to make this album distinct by adding this ever-present string section that seems to be present in a lot of the songs for some reason. But it doesn't sound as good as, like, here we go again, the Love Liberty Disco album. It doesn't sound as good as the strings in those. But it's not enough to save the album. Either way, it's not the worst way to end an era, but there definitely could have been more effort. I wonder if the Newsboys were just kind of pressed for time, because it was after the release of this album that Michael Tate like immediately took over. So, and Peter Furler hardly even toured for this album. And so I wonder if they were just kind of pressed for time and just like started immediately working on the new Newsboys stuff. But so yeah, In the Hands of God is not bad. I just wish that there was a bit more effort. I wish it sounded a bit more like Go, its previous album. But I don't know. Paul Coleman also had left the band when Jody Davis came back, which I'm glad he's back. But I think Paul Coleman added stuff that made Go the album that it is. I mean, he co-wrote Something Beautiful, which is arguably probably the best track on Go. So with him not being present, I don't know if that like took away something. But anyways, In the Hands of God is in C tier. I'm sorry to say. So we've gotten through the John James and Peter Furler era. And just to recap, maybe to anyone who's listening to the audio version, we've got Boys Will Be Boys, F tier. Read All About It, D tier. And in C tier, we have Hell is for Wimps, Devotion, and In the Hands of God. B tier, we have Not Ashamed, Step Up to the Microphone, Thrive, and Adoration. A tier, we got Going Public, Love Liberty Disco, and Go. And S tier, as always, Take Me to Your Leader. Now we're going to move into the very controversial Michael Tate era. So Peter Furler left the band and they thought, hey, let's get someone else who's also a great singer and have him take over. He was in DC Talk, so why not? And so they released Born Again. I gotta say, re-listening to this album, I couldn't hate it. I couldn't hate it. I know I'm Clifford and I'm supposed to hate all things Michael Tate era Newsboys, which I mean, you guys know I'm not a fan. But the thing is that when this album came out, I was like 16 at the time. And at the time, I was a fan. I was still a fan. I was still convincing myself that the Newsboys were good. Like, they were my favorite band, so I wanted it to be good. So yeah, there was a point where I actually liked this album. Same with the next album, honestly. So it's hard not to listen to this album with nostalgic headphones and not kind of enjoy the more upbeat songs. However, it's still not a great album. We're going to put the fact that it doesn't sound like the classic Newsboys aside from a minute. We're going to review this album objectively, like as an album on its own, not just as a Newsboys album, but does it stand up on its own? The lyricism just isn't really great at all. Some of it is cringeworthy, especially in One Shot and When the Boys Light Up. Like, things change just like the Twitter that you update or your Facebook status on your front page, but there's no comment you can leave to change my mind. That's an actual lyric in the song. So what was that? Barf. Yeah, and even the fact that Steve Taylor co-writes a couple of the songs, it doesn't save this album. By the way, this is the last time we'll see Steve Taylor's fingerprint on any Newsboys song until Newsboys United. The music is fine in some of the songs. I mean, they've lost the original Newsboys identity, but they're fine. I listened to it and I found myself bobbing my head a few times. But then again, I don't know if that's like nostalgia affecting it or what. However, this album kind of goes all over the place with style. You've got the straight up rock pop songs, but then you've got some straight up techno dance tracks that just don't fit in. And then some more boring CCM emotional songs that fail to really pull out any emotion from me, even though they're really trying. Hunter Gaming says it's not bad, but I just thought the band rushed to put it out. Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of thought put into it, really. I mean, I think they were really trying to do something new, and that they kind of achieved that, but it's just not great. There's always the fact that the Newsboys aren't taking advantage of hardly any of the songwriters in their group as well, and it's now just Michael Tate plus a bunch of other dudes writing the music for them. In fact, after this album, Michael Tate pretty much stops writing at all. So it just eventually becomes other dudes writing music for them. I mean, you look back at older Newsboys albums and you see in the credits that all of the guys in the bands have contributed to a lot of their own songs. Why can't they just come up with their with some songs just in their own group? I mean, Michael Tate is obviously a lyricist, and he had more of an influence on this album than other albums after this. Jeff Frankenstein co-wrote most of the songs on "In the Hands of God" and many other songs. And Jody Davis he's written his own solo album years ago, which I want to talk about that someday. We got to talk about Jody Davis' solo album. They may not be Peter Furler and Steve Taylor. Heck, they may not even be Peter Furler and Phil Joel, who wrote most of Step Up to the Microphone and Love Liberty Disco just by themselves. But they could at least try, instead of getting a bunch of, Christian songwriting people for hire people to do it. But make something honest, not something written by someone else. And that's what this whole album kind of feels like, except for the times where Michael Tate sings about how someone said that he can sing like Nat King, but all he wants to do is do the rock thing. That's another actual lyric. So, rant over. I will say that Michael Tate does have an obvious impact on this album. In fact, the sound of this album does remind me of Michael Tate's last attempt at a band after DC Talk, Tate. I don't know if any of you guys remember the band Tate. It was like his solo project, but with a band. So kind of like David Crowder Band. I don't know. Or Dave Matthews Band. I did like Tate. They had a couple good albums. I mean, that's all they made is 2 albums. But this album sounds like Tate with some pop mixed in there, a little bit more oomph put into it, but just not as impressive, honestly. Tate is one of the reasons why I was kind of excited about Michael Tate coming in, because I knew that Tate was decent, so I thought, let's give it a chance. So, but controversial opinion though, I think the title track, Born Again, is kind of a solid tune on its own. It's all right. Hunter Gaming says, without God's not dead. I assume you meant God's Not Dead. The band would not be as big as they are now. True. I mean, Born Again was a big hit. I remember going to see them at Winter Jam, and they were bragging a lot about how well that album did. At the time, it was like their most well-sold album at the time. And they were bragging about how they beat Justin Bieber in the charts. So Born Again did well, but God's Not Dead, like, skyrocketed, whatever career that they had. Who knows what would have happened without God's Not Dead. But Born Again, like I said, I don't hate it, but it's just, I'm kind of debating whether to put it in C or D, but I don't, it's got to be D, because I don't think that it's even as good as Devotion or In the Hands of God. Really, I don't think that I can do that. It's close though. If I could put it in between D and C, I would. But yeah. But okay, so speaking of God's Not Dead, here is Worship album number 3 from the News Guys. Any of you News Guys got a problem with that? But it's more of a glorified cover album, honestly. I think a lot of people just think about the song God's Not Dead and not the album, because the album isn't great. Hardly any of the songs on this album are originals, including the title track, by the way, which ended up becoming their biggest song ever. Like, you can't argue that God's Not Dead is now currently bigger than Shine and Breakfast and all of them, at least based on today's standards. Maybe back then you could argue that Shine and Breakfast were just as big, but things have changed with the internet, and like God's Not Dead is huge. But they didn't even write that song. I was talking to Lisa earlier, and she didn't even realize Passion, the worship conglomerate or whatever it is, they wrote that song, and the original has David Crowder singing that song. And it's not even actually called God's Not. On the Newsboys album, it's called God's Not Dead and In Like a Lion in parentheses, or Like a Lion. I was thinking about the Reliant K song In Like a Lion. That was based on the Chronicles of Narnia. But anyways, the original song the title is Like a Lion, and in parentheses, God's Not Dead. To be fair, though, I think Newsboys made the better decision. God's Not Dead is a lot more better of a title. But yeah, so anyways, they didn't write the song, but it's become their biggest song ever. Not that I'm complaining that the Newsboys make a cover song big. I mean, I Am Free isn't a Newsboys song. That's a cover too. But they kind of made it their own. Anyways, this album, it also just kind of loses its momentum after like 3 songs. The King is Coming and God's Not Dead rock out, obviously. I mean, I've gotten sick of God's Not Dead, but The King is Coming is not bad. God's Not Dead, you could argue, is not bad. It's just really, really overplayed. And Your Love Never Fails, their rendition of Your Love Never Fails, has this fun, upbeat feel to it. But after that, every song starts to sound the same. They also seem to have less inspiration and energy than the first 3 songs. Also, even though it's probably the better track on the album, the last track, I Am Second, with Kevin Max on it, does not fit on this album at all. So yeah, God's Not Dead. It's not terrible, and like I said, I also used to like this album as well, but even I was like, it's not as good as Born Again, but I don't think it's the worst. So I can't put it in F tier. I'll just put it in D. It's a D for me. Hunter Gaming says, what do you think about Down Under the Big Top? Well, I'm sure you caught my reference just a few minutes ago with that. I can't remember if he was Hack or Sack. He's like, any of you news guys got a problem with that? I love that movie, actually. I on my Letterboxd reviews, because I'm on Letterboxd, I have it as a 10 out of 10. But even though I know it's not perfect, but it's just a real guilty pleasure for me, and I love it so much. I actually think it's kind of well made. It's like, Steve Taylor directed it, and he's actually got a good eye. Like, the cinematography is like not bad, actually, and the color grading is really good too. And I mean, I grew up watching that movie, so of course me and my family, we like still quote it to this day from time to time. So it's a big part of my life. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, Newsboys made a movie back in the 90s after Take Me to Your Leader was released. They called it, it was called Down Under the Big Top, and it's just this big comedy. And that's all it really is. It's like this comedy, and it's a lot of fun. Me and my friend Mitchell, we did a commentary video on it. You can find it on my channel. It's an older video, and it's not really well edited. There's some glitches that I couldn't really fix on it. I've thought about revisiting and making another video on it, but you can check that out. My friend Mitchell is not a Newsboys fan like I am, so it's interesting. It was interesting to hear his commentary. It's funny. AJ John, welcome to the stream. I don't think I've caught you on a stream before, but AJ John is a longtime supporter of the channel. AJ John says, LLD, Love Liberty Disco is so underrated. Glad you put it in A. Thank you, AJ. Thank you so much. my girlfriend is here, and she keeps saying that I'm wrong, and that I've had other people in the chats disagreeing with me. But that's okay. I'm glad I got someone else on my side. I love this so much. You can catch the stream later after it's up to hear my actual thoughts on it. But thank you. AJ John also says in the chats, Big Top is awesome. I agree. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, nothing more than I can say to it. If I could give Big Top a ranking, I would put it in S tier for sure. So yeah, so that was God's Not Dead. It's in D tier. I almost said dead tier. We're going to an hour and a half already, and we got a few more albums to go through. So I'll try to speed things up a little bit. But thank you guys again for joining the stream. This is a lot of fun. So next up, we got Restart, and this was actually the last album that I really cared about while being a fan of Newsboys. Like I still liked Newsboys, and this album came out, and I re-listening to it, I really don't connect with this album at all. This was actually the album that made me think, I don't think I like the Newsboys anymore when it came out. Like even as I mean, I don't know, I might have been like 18 or something. And yes, that's old enough so that I should make my own decisions and not just like something just because it's the Newsboys. But that was the first one where I was like, I'm not really feeling it. So if that tells you anything, this really just feels like Newsboys going, how do you do, fellow kids? Especially with the presence of dubstep in the first track. Like that didn't age well. Dubstep is Lisa starts laughing. Dubstep is the disco, not Love Liberty disco, but dubstep is the disco of the 2010s. Hot take. Like no one really likes a lot of the disco music that came out of the 70s, and no one really likes the dubstep anymore. But yeah, they put dubstep in their first song, and the rest of it is just really generic. It's just a really generic pop album with subpar lyrics, and it's just not for me at all. And I'm sorry, we're now into that era of Newsboys where like nothing is really impressing me. So we gotta put Restart. It's joining Boyz Will Be Boys in the F tier. And the thing is that they're both kind of similar, honestly, because both albums kind of just feel like the Newsboys trying to relate to the young people at the time with Peter Furler rapping, and now they got dubstep in this album. So I think they're both pretty similar. Anyways, next up, Hallelujah for the Cross. This is the first album that I just didn't listen to when it came out. And once again, I can't say that I hated this album. As far as post Peter Furler albums go, this is one of the better ones, but it's still not great. It probably helps that all the songs are already pre-written classics. So they didn't really write any of the songs except just like make their own arrangements of them. In fact, whenever they tried to do that thing where people do in modern worship, where people write in a little blurb into an old hymn, they pull a Chris Tomlin, they put in My Chains Are Gone into Amazing Grace. Anytime that they do that in this, things start to go downhill. Like I was kind of enjoying the first track, All Creatures of Our God and King. And then they added in this bridge where it's like, my hands go up, heaven comes down, giving him praise is our only sound. And it's like, oh, no. So, but they only did that a couple times. I don't even hate what they did. They took Where You Belong / Turn Your Eyes on Jesus from their Not Ashamed album. And I don't hate what they did. I'm sorry. I'm going to be saying that a lot with these albums. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't like it. but they kind of put like a fun spin. I was just surprised, honestly, that they even acknowledged that that song existed, because sometimes you just kind of feel like with the new Newsboys that they don't really care about older Newsboys. So I was really surprised that they did it, and I kind of appreciate it. I never really loved Where You Belong anyway, so I wasn't really like, I didn't find it offensive or anything. So AJ John says, I didn't hate this. Thank you. But I read in the credits thing somewhere that this was all session guys with Tate and Jody's voice on it. What? That kind of ruined it for me. I really hope I'm wrong. Huh. Wow. I mean, truthfully, with Christian music today, I would not be surprised. That's really sad if that's true. But at the same time, I'm not completely surprised. I feel I wouldn't be surprised if that's most of Christian music today. And that's why there's just nothing special about it. But I mean, it doesn't. The thing about this album, about Hallelujah for the Cross, is that it doesn't like soar above anything. It just kind of modernizes new hymns, and it's like okay some of the time. AJ says, if I find where I saw it, I'll send it to you. Yes, please. If you find it, you can like leave a link in the chat or something, because I tried to like read up a little bit on each of the albums that I was listening to, but all that really means is that I was just reading a Wikipedia article, so there wasn't really much a lot of info on this album. So, but yeah, if that's true, that's just, yeah, that just says a lot about the current state of Newsboys. And it just makes me sad because like I feel very personally connected to the band. Like I grew up with them. Like I watched all their videos. I watched all the like DVDs and such, and like behind the scenes stuff. So I know I'm not saying that I'm not creating this false sense of relationship with them. I don't know them for. I mean, I did meet them. I ran into Peter Furler once outside of a concert, and that was really awesome. But they don't know me from Adam, and I don't know them. But I'm just saying that like I feel pretty close to them, and it's sad to hear stuff like that if it's true. But I wouldn't be surprised just based on how their music sounds now. There's just nothing special about it. So ignore the first link. Oh, I didn't get a link if you sent anything, but yeah, if you try to send a link and it doesn't come up, I'll just let me know if you try to send anything. Anyways, Hallelujah for the Cross. I'll just put it in the same tier as Born Again. God's Not Dead. I guess these are the only like ones that are better, really. Love Riot. I don't really know what I can say that I haven't really said about previous albums, especially Restart, except there's no dubstep in this one. But it's generic pop to me with subpar lyrics, some catchy tunes. I gotta say, a lot of times they do know how to produce a pop song, and sometimes it's catchy. But a big thing is the lyricism and the message. That's usually what I'm looking for, and nothing is speaking to me artistically or emotionally. And so I can't really enjoy the music, really, because they're not saying anything. So Love Riot is really similar to Restart, and I gotta put it in F tier. All right, and now the big one that this album, United, was actually the album that got me to start on Clifford today, actually, because I made this horrible review. I mean, I don't disagree with my opinions that I had on it. I just think that it was horribly edited. But I did a review on United, which, by the way, I was convinced until recently that this album was also called The Greatness of Our God. I thought it was called Newsboys United, Greatness of Our God. And that's what I had the title of the video. But everything that I've seen so far, it's just called United. So I'm very confused about that. And I apologize. But this was the one where Peter Furler and Phil Joel came back, and I did a review on it. You can watch it if you want, but that one actually got some controversy. Some people did not agree with my take on it, but that's fine. But anyways, I can't say that it isn't nostalgic to hear Peter Furler and Phil Joel on some new Newsboys tracks, and that I'm not glad to hear it. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about this? I mean, they have such distinct voices that they add so much to it. And it's also just great to have an actual bass player on these tracks rather than Jeff Frankenstein doing bass on the keys or having some session bassist. However, this album is a mixed bag for me. At best, the better songs feel like good songs on what would have been a decent worship album. I mean, that's basically a lot of the tracks on this album is just worship songs. But they're like good. They're not bad. At worst, some of the other songs just sound like more generic contemporary Christian music Newsboys. I mean, I'm glad that Peter and Steve Taylor came back writing some of the songs. At the same time, though, because it wasn't just them, they obviously still had their like big team of songwriters that write their music for them. They were still like a part of it. So, but with Peter Furler and Steve Taylor a part of it, I wish they had pushed themselves a bit more to bring back the old witty Newsboys. And I'm not saying that it has to sound like the old Newsboys, but just like knowing the people that were involved in it, it's just like I know that they could have done better. So I was a little let down with that. They attempt to sound like old Newsboys with a couple of their tracks, like Love One Another, but that song is just lyrically, it's just bad. Like the chorus, like love one another, sister and brother, don't hurt each other. Yeah. Don't hurt each other. Stop it. I know a lot of people like that song just because, I mean, it sounds fun, and I did a video on this song as well because they did a music video to it. It's just not good, in my opinion. So, Only the Sun, the song Only the Sun does a better job, even though lyrically it's still just another worship song. And it's actually a repurposed Peter Furler solo song from his Peter Furler band album. He took his song Yeshua and they took the verses of that and they like made a new chorus to it, which I kind of like the rendition, but yeah. AJ says, so cringe. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, unfortunately. So other good songs on this album are I like Greatness of Our God, Symphony, and This I Know. I think they're like good worship songs and they could have fit on like an album like Adoration. If they were on Devotion, they would have made the album better probably. So, and also there was this track Rejoice, which was only on the deluxe edition. And that was like the best song on the album. I was like, why didn't you include that on the actual album? It was a lot better and it felt like actual Newsboys. Plus, you have Phil Joel actually leading a verse. He doesn't do it in any of the other songs. And it's like, come on, give Phil Joel a break. But United, it was disappointing, but it was refreshing amongst all the other Newsboys, same old garbage. Sorry, that's too harsh. I don't mean garbage. But so United was, I'm going to put it C tier for me, personally. AJ says, Rejoice was such a missed win. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I don't know why they chose Love One Another to like try to be one of the singles from the album. Like they should have gone with Rejoice. It's a much better song. I mean, the only thing about Love One Another is that they had Kevin Max on it. And even he doesn't really add much to it. He just goes, I'm Kevin Max. So that would have been a much better choice. It's just a better song. I mean, they put it on the deluxe edition. That's fine, but like you look at the streams and it doesn't get as much attention as other songs on there. All right, we are down to the last song, album, sorry. And this is their newest one, Stand. And I just listened to it for the first time, prepping for this show. And I will say that I had heard a couple of the songs beforehand because they they're the singles, but I hadn't listened to the album before. And it's just, I can't say anything different really about this album, compared to like Restart and Love Riot. It's just the same. In fact, I could almost say it's like even more boring, honestly. There's like, okay, and I even told Lisa this when I was listening to it. I kind of hate how catchy Magnetic is. It is so catchy, but not really in a good way because the lyrics aren't good, but it's catchy. It's like pulling me back, it's magnetic. Sorry, that's not really my best singing, but it's kind of catchy and it's hard not to bob your head to it, but it doesn't really have anything else. And like any of the other songs, it's just not special at all. I don't remember really any of the songs that I listened to, really. It's just, yeah. So I'm sorry. That has to go to F tier with all the other ones. I think Newsboys are coming out with a new album because they've released a couple singles. They released a track with the lead singer from Mercy Me, and Mercy Me is not my favorite band at all, so it's just kind of like But anyways, so that's the tier list right there. Kind of looks like a staircase, sort of, with a long drop at the end. But so just to recap for anyone listening on audio and they can't see the list, F tier, we got Boys Will Be Boys, Restart, Love Riot, and Stand. D tier, we got Read All About It, Born Again, God's Not Dead, and Hallelujah for the Cross. C tier, we have Hell Is For Wimps, Devotion, In the Hands of God, and United. B tier, we got Not Ashamed, Step Up to the Microphone, Thrive, and Adoration. Really good. B tier is really good albums for me. A tier, we got Going Public, Love Liberty Disco, and Go. And of course, S tier, my favorite album of all time, Take Me to Your Leader. I don't know if I even said, by the way, let me know what your thoughts are on the list if you have any big complaints or anything. But I was very happy this past year because I finally got my favorite album on vinyl. I was so happy about that because this company that they like to release like Christian, like obscure Christian albums, maybe not obscure, but like older albums. Like they all at once they released I think it was Legend of Chin by Switchfoot, and I think it was a Reliant K album, and Take Me to Your Leader on vinyl. And I was very happy about that because I always wanted Newsboys to do a release on vinyl because they never do that. Popular Christian music, they never release anything on vinyl because their audience is mostly soccer moms that don't listen to vinyl. They listen to it on the radio, so they don't waste their money with vinyl, unfortunately. I mean, I don't care because I don't want to get Restart by the Newsboys on vinyl, of course, but like a reissue of their older albums would be great on vinyl, and they did it with Take Me to Your Leader. I was very happy, but they should do it with the rest of their older albums. I would love that. I would buy anything from like B tier on up, honestly. I would get that. Maybe even C tier, honestly. And maybe even the older ones that I don't really like that much, but that would be nice to have. but no, I just don't think that they care that much. But anyways, that's my list. I did it. I ranked all the Newsboys albums. My life has been leading up to this point, and I'm very happy about it. And let me know you guys' thoughts on your favorite Newsboys albums. What are your favorite? I'll probably put like a poll or question in the Spotify version for any of you Spotify listeners. Check out. Check out. What was I going to say? I got distracted for a second. Anyways, never mind. AJ in the chat says, can you put a link to List Maker so we can make our own? I think so. Let me try. What the heck? That's my... Okay. I forgot I had to do this through my old Twitter account that I don't use anymore. So it's my old profile right there. Let me try. See if this works. I put a link in the chat. That should work. If not, I'll figure something out and put it in the comment or description later so that you guys can play along and make your own tier list. When I made the tier list, I wasn't really intending it for it to be public for other people to do it. So when it's like, what's the description? And I just put, it's the Newsboys. So, okay, awesome. It worked then. Make your own lists, and I would say share them with me, but I don't really know how you would do that. You can send them to me over Instagram, I guess. My Facebook page as well. You can, if you want to share. Yeah, if you send me your tier lists, we'll talk about it in the next episode, and I'll share you guys' tier lists. So, awesome. This was fun. Even though I had to go through a lot of albums that I didn't care for, that's fine. It was fun. So, anyways, let's bring it back now. We're nearing the end of the show, so thank you guys for sticking through this whole weird ranking thing. No Christian music reviews today, as I mentioned at the beginning, because I just didn't have any time to listen to anything. There's a Norma Jean album out that I want to listen to and review. There's a new Tyson Motzenbacher single. There's a new Keith and Kristen Getty single that I haven't listened to. So we'll most likely talk about that in the next episode. I also wanted to shift the episode just a little bit because I have a little bit of an announcement to make. And this might be, I mean, it's not really sad news, but it might be sad news for some of you guys out there. This, unfortunately, is going to be the last live stream that I do on YouTube specifically. The I'm Clifford Today show from now on, unfortunately, is going to be exclusively, well, not exclusively, the live stream is going to be on Twitch, twitch.tv/I'm Clifford Today, if you're not already a follower. The reason is the show is still going to be on YouTube. It's just going to be live streamed on Twitch, and then it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. And the reason is because some of you who may have been watching the show for a while know that I've been having a lot of technical difficulties in trying to make a good show. And what I've been trying to do is get this show streamed on 2 different platforms, Twitch and I'm Clifford Today, because, you know, I think that there's a good opportunity to connect with people at Twitch, and I have already. Also, we got Dan Opper in the chats. Welcome to the show. He says it's funny that 2 albums with a dude from DC Talk got an F. Yeah, well, that'll just probably show you how I feel about that. Anyways, getting back to the topic. Thanks, Dan, for joining the show. Lisa's actually here. This is Lisa's brother. He's here. Lisa is in the other room laying down. Dan says they just haven't had the same songwriting since Peter Furler left. Yeah, it's true. You can listen to the episode again and you'll hear all my thoughts. I mean, it's pretty much the same as you. But okay, anyways, we'll take some chats later. But I've been trying to do this show on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. And the thing is that I'm very limited with the equipment that I have, with the computer that I have. Before I was sorry if I get too technical for you guys to really understand, for you guys who aren't familiar with streaming and streaming software, but before I was trying to use Streamlabs, this thing called Streamlabs, because it can stream to multiple different platforms at once. And so I thought that was cool. However, it's a software on my computer, and whenever I used it, it just used up a lot of my computer usage. And some of you guys know the video didn't. I mean, today the video isn't really even perfect still, but it was worse when trying to use Streamlabs, and I would have a whole bunch of technical difficulties, and the video would just look awful. And so Lisa even suggested to me, is like, well, maybe you should just forget about going to YouTube and Twitch and just pick one. And we thought Twitch, because we were actually getting a lot of activity on Twitch. But then I heard about this thing called StreamYard, which is a streaming service that you don't have to download a software to use. It's like through your browser. So it's supposed to be like better. So the first time trying it was in the last episode with my Benjamin Daniel interview. And some of you guys already know that didn't go very well. Oh, Hunter Gaming is following me on Twitch. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the follow. So I thought I would try to use StreamYard, and it just wasn't working out. And it also turns out, as witnessed today, we tried to get Lisa on the show, but StreamYard has its limitations, and I can't have multiple microphones at once. So we couldn't get Lisa on the show. And there's lots of things. I had this edited countdown video. This really, it's not cool, but Hunter Gaming says no problem. Thanks, man. I had this edited countdown video planned to play today, and I was like, well, hopefully the same thing doesn't happen that happened with the Benjamin Daniel interview, where everything just kind of shut down for a few minutes. And when I had the video ready in StreamYard, the quality noticeably got worse, and it felt like that my computer was struggling even more. So I was like, forget it. I'm not going to mess with that video today. So using StreamYard has been more of a hindrance. It's just very limited to what it can do. And I want to put on a good show, and there's things that I want to do that I'm not able to do because of StreamYard. However, I can use OBS, which is like the free streaming software that most everyone uses. But OBS can only stream to one platform at a time. And also, I mean, I could use StreamYard by itself, but I have a problem with my camera being used as a webcam, where if you guys watched Benjamin Daniel's episode last time, these two black bars showed up on the side, and I can't crop that out in StreamYard. You can't crop out things on StreamYard for some reason. You can do that on OBS, which is, I'm using OBS right now as a sort of camera. Sorry, I'm getting way too technical. The thing is that the show is gonna look a lot more nicer and a lot more smooth if I just focus on one platform to stream on. So, and I hate to neglect everyone on YouTube. It just happens that today is actually kind of an exception. Usually all of our activity through the stream comes from people on Twitch. So that's why we thought that Twitch would be the better place to stream to, and then just YouTube, just upload the whole episode on YouTube later. You can't upload videos on Twitch because it's all live streaming. So that's why I'm making this decision, because I want to make a good show for you guys, not just for the live stream, but also the fact that like I want a good video for people to come to who don't get the live stream. Like, why would people come to a video and the video is like all choppy and laggy, like it has been before? Like, no one wants to click on that. And so I just want to make a good quality show for you guys because I think that you guys deserve it. And I'm sorry for any of you guys who only like live streaming on YouTube. I mean, you'll catch the show later, but I encourage you guys, if you don't already, get a Twitch account and follow me, just like Hunter Gaming already has. And you'll also catch my gaming streams as well. I game on there. I do strategy, mostly like strategy gaming, like Stronghold and such, because that's the only games I'm really good at. But we have a good time over there. So check me out, twitch.tv/I'm Clifford today. Give me a follow over there and you'll be able to catch the live streams live. And if not, that's totally okay. You'll just catch the show afterwards, either on YouTube or also on the audio versions. So that's the announcement. And I'm sorry to say, and this may be only temporary. Like StreamYard told me I tried to get like support, and they were like, well, the best thing to do is to like connect to an Ethernet. But where I'm at right now, I live in my parents' house and I live up on the 3rd floor. There's no Ethernet plug-in, and it's not really an option for me to just move to another room. So, and then maybe I could, I'll be able to purchase another camera, but it's just not really possible right now. But so for the time being, I'm sorry to say, guys, that the live stream will only be on Twitch. So, but still, YouTube is like my main baby. I'm still, editing videos, like editing cool videos for you guys to watch other than the I'm Clifford Today show. So I appreciate you guys subscribing to that and checking those out when those come out. And like I said, the show will still be coming every other week, every other Saturday. So, okay, I'm going to stop because I feel like I'm over explaining things. Hope you guys understand. Hope you guys can show me some support. I appreciate everyone who came to this chat today. This has been great. A lot of fun. Dan Hopper says, your beard is looking sexy, by the way. Thanks, man. That's Lisa says she agrees. Anyway, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the love, guys. I think that's about it for today. Again, next episode, I'm getting off my social media break, so I'll be reacting to a lot of news that I missed. Hopefully, if you guys want to send me some news that happened in the month of August that I might have missed, email them to me, cliffordclose94@gmail.com. And then the next time, also patreon.com, if you want to support me financially, patreon.com/I'm Clifford today as well. No music reviews for today. And so I think that's it. I think it's about time to wrap this up already, because this is going on for a long time. So we're just going to do that right now. If my outro music will just play right now. There we go. So anyway, thanks guys for watching the show. It's been fun to get through these rankings. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitch. Leave a like if you like today's show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a rating and review. Also, check out my other podcast that I do with my friend Mitchell. Podwood Forecast. We are actually going to record an episode. We are going to talk about Better Call Saul, the show that just wrapped up recently that we both love. So be on the lookout for that. Also, merch. Link in the description for merch. If you want a new shirt with my name on it. I'm still working on new videos. I'm still working on the Audio Feed Festival video, and that's coming along great. I'm really excited about that. So, yeah, love you guys. You guys take care, and I'll see ya when I get off the grid next September. You guys take care. Bye.